So, we made it through free agency, we made it through the draft, and now Cleveland Browns OTAs officially begin today. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, Deshaun Watson is starting at quarterback, mate. Fuck. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, then please do me a favour and hit that subscribe button. So, it's a pretty good time to be a Cleveland fan right now. The Cleveland Cavaliers have done it. They have won a Game 7, 2 Game 7s this playoffs, but they beat the Pistons in Detroit in that Game 7. I would not have been wearing this hat if they didn't, but they did. We get to have a couple of days of good vibes. Cleveland Cavaliers going to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time without LeBron James in my lifetime, probably for a lot of you guys watching. I mean, 92, I believe, was the last time that the Cavaliers made the Eastern Conference Finals without LeBron James. So, pretty cool moment for the Cavs. Shout out to them. And, you know, that might be over in the cool side of the city. And obviously, you know, definitely the coolest owner of the city, Dan Gilbert. Shout out to him busting out all those fans to Detroit. But in the not so cool side of the city, as some people like to say, not myself, is this the Cleveland Browns? And yes, we might not be having the same amount of excitement right now as the Cavaliers, obviously in the Eastern Conference Finals. But there's one thing we can do right now in Cleveland, and that is smell football. And that is because the Cleveland Browns OTAs officially begins today. Off-season training program, off-season training activities to be official begin today. I think it's 10 sessions that the Browns have throughout these first voluntary workout periods before we then roll on to training camp, mandatory camp in June. And obviously I am here to take you guys all the way through that. But today, I just wanted to kind of give an overall thoughts, shall I say, on a couple bits of Browns news, obviously surrounding with training camp beginning today. And that is, you know, the quarterback stuff, Deshaun Watson, SHEDEUR Sanders, the number change controversy, shall we say, the confusion that happened with KC Conception, and a couple of other bits as well. Let's not waste any time and get straight into it, because the Cleveland Cavaliers have a game to play tonight, and for some reason, the NBA has scheduled all of their games 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 1 a.m. over here in the UK. I'm already still pretty tired from Sunday night's Game 7, where I think I got to bed about 10 to 5. Just for reference, I get up for work at 6:30, so that wasn't great. But as I said, let's jump straight into this, and I'm obviously going to start with the news that dominates Cleveland Browns everything all the time. Just nothing else is more important ever than this, and that is the quarterback position. And obviously with the discussion being around SHEDEUR Sanders and Deshaun Watson. I've held off a little bit on these kind of videos. I could have done 100 of these videos, but I held off a little bit. I will obviously do a deeper dive into this as we get through, you know, OTAs, going into training camp, when we get a more of an idea, although I have an idea, but a more official idea, shall we say, on who the starter will be, etc., etc. I will do a bit of a bigger dive into it, but I just wanted to give my initial kind of thoughts now as we're sat here entering OTAs. And, you know, first and foremost, you know, everyone's seen the kind of reporting, the you know, news, shall we say, that would suggest, there we go, that Deshaun Watson is the front runner and in pole position to win the starting job, all of that stuff. Now, as I said, first and foremost, this is not a surprise to me. This is not a surprise to anyone that watched any of my videos talking about the quarterback battle and the quarterback room, etc., etc., all the way back in January. The season ended. You know, we had a couple of weeks talking about the season. Then we went, I say a couple of weeks, couple of hours probably talking about that season. Then we went straight on to the draft and obviously off season and next season. And, you know, I made it quite clear then that, you know, I was, not because I wanted it by any means, I don't, but I was pretty convinced that the Browns were going to do everything that they could to give Deshaun Watson the opportunity to go and win the starting job. This is the big, this is the main reason why I was advocating for the Cleveland Browns to bring in competition. This is the main reason I was advocating for them to go and trade for someone like an Anthony Richardson, because I was worried that we would get into a situation like we are in now, where we are going into OTAs, and the only people we have on the roster that can save us from Deshaun Watson starting at quarterback were SHEDEUR Sanders, who, don't get me wrong, I've of course spoken highly at times, lowly at times as well, but SHEDEUR Sanders, a 5th round pick from last year. Anyone has different opinions depending on who you ask on him, but is this a bona fide, this guy is going to be a starting quarterback? I don't even think his biggest fans could say that definitively. Dylan Gabriel, and our 6th round pick from this year, rookie Taylor Green. And don't get me wrong, if Taylor Green could come here and steal the job off everyone, great, but we all know that's not happening. So that was the biggest reason why I advocated to bring in competition into this room. The Browns didn't do that. That doesn't mean that they still don't have a chance. Who knows? Maybe we get that Anthony Richardson trade in a couple of weeks. I doubt it. But this, it's looking like this is who we will be running with. And as I said, I say all of that to say that is the reason why I was concerned, shall we say, that Deshaun Watson was going to win this job. So all of the reporting, all of this stuff that has come out the last couple of weeks is not a surprise to me at all. It might be a surprise to some, but as I said, I pretty much identified this in January and knew that this was probably going to be the most likely scenario to happen. And that's looking like the case. I said it then, I'll say it now. Deshaun Watson, for all of his faults, and there are a lot of them, not just on the football pitch either. For all of that stuff, there is a reason why Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson. Like Deshaun Watson, in terms of just talent, when he came here to Cleveland, you could make an argument, this is more of a detriment on the Browns, but you could make an argument that's the most talented quarterback to ever play for the Cleveland Browns. Yes, it didn't work out, and I've stressed this so many times that the biggest reason I don't think that Deshaun Watson has worked out here is because his head is officially cooked. He does not have the brain anymore to play NFL quarterback. That's not me saying he doesn't have the brain in terms of the intelligence. I mean, all things considered, this is a very smart football player, but he just completely lost the mental whatever it is that allows you to play in the NFL. He lost that. But one thing you don't lose, you don't just lose overnight, is talent. I was a goalkeeper for 14 years. I haven't played in 8 years competitively. Stick me in a goal, you'll be able to tell that I was a goalkeeper. Something falls off my table, you'll be able to tell that I was a goalkeeper with those reactions. And that's me, as the level that I played at, which, don't get me wrong, was quite decent, but not quite the NFL, not quite the highest level there is of that sport. So, to act like this guy's not talented, I've always said, is just silly. As much as we can complain about everything else around Deshaun Watson, one thing you can't deny was that the guy is talented. Whether or not that translates, which it doesn't, because as I said, I think he's completely lost the mental faculties to play NFL, to play a quarterback in the NFL. But that doesn't apply when you're throwing in shorts. And this is what I kept stressing, that, we're going to go into a quarterback battle, competition, whatever you want to call it, where these guys are throwing in shorts against air. And Deshaun Watson is going to look very, very good doing that. I mentioned at the time, everyone remembers the Browns beat coming out of that first practice that Deshaun Watson did after the trade. They thought they just watched prime Mahomes watching Deshaun Watson throw in shorts on air out there because of what we've been used to seeing in Cleveland. So that's kind of the reason why I was like, look, if it does play out where we have a quarterback competition of SHEDEUR Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and Deshaun Watson is going to look like the best quarterback if they're just throwing in shorts on air. And if that's what they're basing it off, he's going to win the job. So that's why I say all that to say this is not a surprise for me. This is not what I want. I want to make that very, very clear. I have had my criticisms of SHEDEUR Sanders. I have been dubbed the biggest SHEDEUR hater by a certain people on social media, which is just hilarious to think about. I've done more videos praising the kid than I have not. But as I said, you know, I, as someone that has been kind of grouped into that, which, as I said, might be unfairly, but whatever, I can sit here and say I would much rather SHEDEUR Sanders starts than DESHAUN Watson. And that is for a litany of reasons. Just football reasons. He's the younger guy. We've seen DESHAUN Watson play. I know that he can't play in the NFL anymore. I don't need that shown to me again. Whereas SHEDEUR Sanders, don't get me wrong, is it likely that he turns into a franchise quarterback? From what I've seen, I don't think so. But there's still that possibility. He's still a young player that's only played, like 7 starts in the NFL. So that is what I would much rather do. But unfortunately, I just don't think that's going to be the case. You know, we can sit here and say, well, they can't do it because of the fan reaction. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The team that traded 3 first-round picks and gave $230 million to DESHAUN Watson does not give a fuck about optics. They don't care what the fans think, whether that's good or bad. Sometimes it's good, mostly bad. They don't care. You know, the Browns start the season with 2 games on the road. The Browns' 6 of their first 9 games are on the road. I can assure you that they do not give the slightest of fucks about the whole, oh, well, if you start DESHAUN Watson, we're all going to riot stuff. That they just don't care about that. Whether they should or not is a completely another discussion. But they don't care about that. That's never, ever going to be something that stops them from playing him. If they think that he gives them the best chance to win this year, he's going to play. And unfortunately, I think that is the kind of outcome that they are going to end up on. As I said, it's not what I would do, but it's something that I accepted was probably going to happen in January. As every week goes past, as every major event in the calendar goes past for the NFL offseason, it just feels more and more likely. I said in January, guys, just accept it already, start preparing for it. I don't even know what else I can say now. Just, again, accept it. I was to say start preparing for it, but I think it's already here. So I think DESHAUN Watson will start the season. I don't think he's going to play the whole season, don't get me wrong. And anyone that's annoyed about that thinks SHEDEUR Sanders won't get a chance. We've seen this Browns quarterback room the last, I say the last 4 years, the last forever, but especially the last few years. I mean, we're averaging like 4 quarterbacks a year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor Green starts a game this year. But I do think as it stands now, that DESHAUN Watson is most likely going to be the week 1 starter. I don't agree with that, but that just seems like that's going to be the case. And as I said, I'll do more dives into the whole quarterback stuff as we go throughout OTAs, as we go into training camp. But just now sat here on the 19th of May with OTA starting today, that's where I'm at on the whole situation. Now, time for some fun stuff. So we had a bit of a confusion this last week, and that was with jersey numbers. Now, we got speculation. It was literally reported like last week or the week before that Quinshon Judkins will be switching from his number 10 jersey he wore as a rookie to the number 1 jersey that, of course, he made very famous at Ohio State during his time there. So, pardon me, sorry. So, that's what we got. Okay, cool. Quinshon Judkins wearing 1. Demon time. Let's go. And then we get a picture from the NFL Rookie Showcase that has KC Concepcion wearing number 1. So a lot of us thought, well, hold on a minute. I thought Quinshon was wearing number 1. I was very confused. People were telling me that no, he's not wearing number 1. It's because he was a first-round pick. That's why he's wearing number 1. I thought, well, that kind of makes sense, but no one else is wearing number 1. None of the other first-round picks from this year that are at this showcase are wearing number 1. Would be quite odd if that was just something that the Browns decided to do. So we had a bit of speculation, a little bit of back and forth. What is going on here? We now have answers, and the answers are that it is KC Concepcion that will be wearing number 1. next season, not Quinshon Judkins. And I will just start by saying that I absolutely love this. Anyone that has heard me wax lyrical about KC Concepcion, this was one of my favourite players in the draft process. I screamed for the Browns to go and draft him once we got past their first pick in the first round. They ended up drafting him. I am such a fan of the player, such a fan of the person. And for him to get number one is awesome. It clearly shows you their confidence in him, because you're not going to just give a rookie wide receiver number one if you don't think that he's going to be able to contribute year one. I mean, just imagine the memes, imagine the jokes. If this guy's sat on the bench in a number one jersey, would be quite funny. So I think it shows you the confidence that they have in him. It shows you the confidence that he has in himself, because to wear that jersey, it's the same with them. They have confidence in him. They obviously expect him, but the same with him. He knows what that brings. I'm not saying this like the number one jersey is like the most famous jersey in the NFL or the most famous Browns jersey, but we can all sit here as adults and say, if you're a skill position player in the NFL, you probably want to wear number one. It's a cool look. It looks cool. I am number one. I'm a wide receiver. I'm the number one wide receiver. I'm a running back. I'm the number one running back. It just looks cool. I got to wear number one my whole career, because thankfully in football, goalies get to wear number one, and I loved it. And I think it's just a cool number to wear, and I think it shows you that he is confident in himself. It shows you that the Browns are confident in him, and I think as well. Kevin Stefanski didn't let rookies wear single digits unless they were quarterbacks, and he had a few odd rules, and I think this is just an example of, we didn't think much of it at the time, but now I can kind of look back and think, Kevin, what the fuck were you doing? Like, why were you not allowing these rookies to wear number one? We can do this whole you've got to earn it stuff, but you can't really do that on a losing team. Fair enough if we're the Philadelphia Eagles. Fair enough if we're the Rams. We're the Browns, and we were trying to do this whole upstanding organisation, you got to earn the stripes, we're fucking Ohio State winning national championships. We're the Browns, so it was a little bit cringe, shall I say, that Kevin would do that. So shout out to Todd Monken for completely getting rid of that. Let's get these boys in these cooler jersey numbers. Some people prefer 17 as a wide receiver number to 1. I don't. I'll just say that straight up. I much prefer 1. I think that's a way cooler number for a wide receiver, and especially a wide receiver like a KC Concepcion as well. So obviously I am very happy about him wearing number 1. Quinshon will now stay in number 10, because that is another thing as well. It was KC has number 1, but it was confirmed that Justin Jefferson, Browns rookie linebacker, is wearing 10. Obviously got that because Quinshon was moving to 1. So what number is Quinshon wearing? It has now been confirmed that Quinshon is remaining in 1. Justin Jefferson will wear number 17, that obviously KC Concepcion originally had. 17 for a linebacker, not too sure about it. We'll see how it goes. But that is the number that he will take. And, the only thing I can think of why this happened is either A, KC just went up to Quinshon and said, bro, please let me wear 1. Please let me wear 1. Please let me wear 1. And he just went, okay, you can wear 1. Or, what I think is the most likely scenario, is Quinshon decided to move to number 1. Then he was reminded that the NFL rule that if you want to change number, you've got to buy up all the jerseys that they have of the previous number. He probably looked at the price. He is a second round pick, not quite earning the same money as these first round picks. Probably looked at the price of doing that and thought, okay, the number can wait. I'll stay in 10 for now. I think 10 is a cool number. I mean, 10 is, again, to do the football comparison, 10 is arguably the coolest number to wear in football. Some might say 7, but number 10 is that kind of sexy number. Number 10 in rugby is the sexiest number. I think number 10 is a cool number. I think Quinshon looks good in the number 10. So I think good outcome all round, because yes, if Quinshon in the 1 would have looked awesome, but if that meant that we had KC in, I don't know, an 80 number, or in 17 and then Justin Jefferson in 10, I'd have been like, I'm not too sure about that. I think this is the best outcome. Keep Quinshon in 10. and obviously have KC Conception in 1. Have I just spent 5 minutes talking about jersey numbers? Yes, I have, because this stuff is important to me, guys. Aesthetics mean a lot. They go a long way in the NFL. No, but all seriousness, obviously, getting to see our rookies next year. We got 1 out there. We got 12 out there with obviously Denzel Boston. Maybe we get to see 15 out there in Taylor Green. But 1, 12, if SHEDEUR's out there throwing it, 1 to 12, we can do some cool stuff with these numbers. I'm sure that we can. 1, 4, 12 kind of works. Not sure. As I said, we'll work on it. But that's, I think, I mean, it's quite funny that I'm sat here saying that that's pretty much the main news that has come out of this last week is a fucking jersey number change. But it pretty much is, because as I said, that week leading into OTAs is a little bit quiet. There's not that much going on. The only thing we can really report about is the quarterback stuff, which of course I gave my thoughts on earlier. What's going on with Joel Bitonio? I don't know. He'll probably sign for the Falcons after training camp. I expect that to be the most likely outcome for him. We had a report this week about maybe the Browns are going to trade Luke Whippler to the Ravens, and I don't know how much stock to put in that, because the person reporting on it was unaware that Luke Whippler's actually played a game in the NFL. They seem to think that he'd never played in the NFL and only played in the preseason. So not entirely sure how much stock we can put into that reporting. But I'm excited for training camp, and that is it, guys. I actually did remember the last bit of news that I had, and that is that Aaron Anderson, who we initially thought was signed as an undrafted free agent, it was then confirmed that no, he wasn't signed as an undrafted free agent. He was actually coming in on a tryout. He has now officially been signed. The Browns have signed Aaron Anderson after he won minicamp Player of the Week. I didn't even know that was the award, but he, for everyone that I've spoke to that were there, said that he did stand out. They said he was kind of the Luke Fliera of last year. He definitely stood out at minicamp. They've signed him, give him an opportunity to go and maybe make this roster. He will obviously, I expect him to make the initial 90-man roster, and then it's just a question of whether he can do enough throughout training camp, etc., to get onto that final 53. It's probably unlikely, but I do think the kind of battle for those last 1 or 2 receiver spots is going to be interesting. Is this finally the year that the Browns carry 7 wide receivers on that 53? We've been talking about it the last couple of years. Is this finally the year that they do it? It would make sense the year that they've actually injected some young talent into it. But obviously we'll have to wait and see. But shout out to Aaron Anderson being signed. And we did also sign linebacker Reed Carrico and defensive end Marquise Watts, I'm pretty sure played quite a lot of games last year for the Bucks. I'm pretty sure he played most of their games last season. So obviously more defensive end depth, and let's see if these guys can make the initial 90 roster, and then obviously the 53-man roster. And to make way for those guys, we waived defensive tackle Bernard Gooden. Sorry, guys. Tight end Caden Brixton and wide receiver Isaiah Wooden, I don't know. Most of you guys probably don't know who those guys are anyway, so not exactly too much news. But that is my thoughts on obviously the stuff that we've had this week leading up to OTAs. As I said, today is the first practice for the OTA period. I think we have 10. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. And the media will be at Wednesday's practice, tomorrow's practice as of recording. So that's where I'm sure we will get a boatload of more Deshaun Watson versus SHEDEUR Sanders tweets on social media and reporting, which, by the way, everyone owes Mary Kay an apology. I'm not the biggest Mary Kay fan by any means, but she was right about the Deshaun Watson thing, I suppose, because everything else that we've seen come out from that, I mean, even Schrader's come out today and said that he's in the driving seat. It's getting round the national media cycles, whereas everyone clowned Mary Kay for that, because they seem to think that I think people thought that the only practices the Browns have had were the ones that the media were at. And don't get me wrong, I had to learn all of this stuff when I got into the NFL. It is a weird and wacky world, the NFL. But I don't think they realised that like the Browns have had a lot of practices. They've been in the classroom a lot. It's just the media wasn't there. So this idea that, you know, that he's beaten him out in 2 practices, that's not what's happened. If he has beaten him out by now already, that's not because of 2 practices. That's because of a litany of practices, as well as obviously the classroom stuff as well. But as I said, that is my thoughts on all the kind of news and stuff leading up to this week. Browns OTA starts. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Does Deshaun Watson win this job? Are you as unpleasantly optimistic? I don't even know which word to use here. Optimistic that he starts pessimistically. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about the quarterback battle. Let me know what you guys think about OTAs. Anyone you're looking forward to seeing from, etc., etc. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But that would do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you do enjoy my content, then please drop this video a like. Hit that subscribe button. It's free, but it really, really helps out my channel. You can also check the links in the description to see where you can follow and interact with me on social media. As I always say, I'm trying to build a community of Cleveland Browns fans, and even if that means I only get to talk to one fan a day, I'm happy because I'm talking Browns football with the best fan base in the world. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have an amazing week. Enjoy OTAs. Enjoy the smell of football back in Berea. But most importantly, go Browns.